You know, it has been over 24 hours since that absolute disgraceful performance against Atletico Madrid at the Wanda in the Copa del Rey first leg, where we were not just battered, we didn't just lose. No, we got our pants pulled down. And honestly, guys, I know it's been a day since, and honestly, guys, I'm still not happy. As a matter of fact, I'm actually still pissed because I really had to take the time yesterday after the game to basically just give myself some rest, but also really think about where everything went wrong. Where did this whole game completely go south? Where? And there's so many different areas that, we can look at in this game basically and say, this was the issue, this was the issue. The biggest one is obviously the defense. But here's the thing. I've called out this defense for so long now that I don't want to sound like a broken record. And quite frankly, in this video, I feel like I didn't put enough attention on a certain someone in this game because this was wrong all round. Not just from the lineup, not just from how bad defensively we were, but tactically, it was completely naive and embarrassing. And there's only one man who needs to take blame for this disgraceful tactical inept, and that is Hansi Flick. The manager, Hansi Flick, you now need to step into the limelight because quite frankly, right, I've given you credit, I've given you praises, I've called you out, I've said that you've done an amazing job, and you have. But I'm going to say this now, and I feel like it has to be said. This manager, his biggest problem that I've seen since his time at this club is his intent on being naive and stubborn when he doesn't need to be. We've now seen this season so far in games when the tactic hasn't worked, when the high line has been exposed. Those are the times when as a manager, you get paid to come out and actually do the tactical adjustment. If it's not working, tweak the system. That's what managers are paid for. But this manager, Hansi Flick, has clearly shown he's got none of that. How many games in this season? I can go all the way back to the start of the season when we played against Sevilla. We played Sevilla. We lost that game 4-1. That whole match, the high line was exposed time after time after time after time after flipping time, and the manager refused to change. As a result, we didn't just lose, we got battered by a team who are not even challenging for Europe this season. That's how bad they've been. And then the next time we saw this tactical naivety, it was against Chelsea, when we were down to 10 men, but the manager refused to change the tactic. And you know what? We were lucky to only lose that game by 3. Because quite frankly, the amount of chances that Chelsea had in that game was completely embarrassing. The fact that they didn't win that game by more than 3 goals was an embarrassment for them. And you know what? Even in games when we've won, like the game against Copenhagen in the Champions League, where even the goal that we conceded, look at the high line. Once again, it got exposed. Once again, every single game, we see the high line getting exposed. And when the high line gets exposed, that's when, as a manager, you need to look at it and say, all right, these guys clearly have players that can expose this high line. Trust me, anyone who watched Atletico in the last 3 games would have told you, Giuliano Simeone and Ademola Lookman are going to be a problem in those wings. They're going to be a problem. They're going to be the ones because they are very pacey players. They don't need to be behind the defender. They can give the defender a yard and they can still catch up. And you know what happened? Every single time the ball went to Giuliano Simeone or went to Lookman, it always felt like they were going to score. How is it possible as a fan, I can tell this, but you as the manager can't see that? It was an absolute embarrassment. And like I mentioned, we've seen this pattern with him constantly. I have said this even since last season. In the games when we were playing high lines and we were conceding, I was saying, why is it that in certain games, clearly the high line is not working, but the manager insists on playing it? You're making yourself look like a one-trick pony. And when you are a one-trick pony and teams figure out how to play against you, you are cooked. Because you have only one way of playing, and if it doesn't work, well, I guess it's a bust then. And that's the problem with Flick. Flick has shown tactically he's very inept. I'm sorry as a Barca fans, for you Barca fans. Let's call it out for what it is. The high line works 90% of the time. Okay? Yes, we concede practically in every game, but we're scoring goals. And because we're scoring goals and we're winning the game, it's completely swept under the rug. Right? Even when we're conceding, because we're scoring and scoring and scoring, it looks like, oh, it doesn't matter. If we concede, if they concede one, we'll just score two. If we concede two, we'll score four. That's what we're going to do. But what happens when you're playing against a team that are defensively good, but also have the players in the offense that can expose you? You get the game like you got yesterday. You get the game like you got yesterday. And this is why I'm worried about this team. This is why I've told people this team is not ready. This is why when I keep telling people we need to go out and get defenders, it's because at the end of the day, we do need defenders. These defenders are not good enough. We already know that. But the manager needs to look at himself here. You know the quality of your defense is not good enough. Especially in the game yesterday, when you're playing against an Atletico team that are absolutely battering you on the counter, you think to drop the line. But no. This manager refuses to change. This manager refuses to adapt. And I've seen this now a few times. During our bad run, during the first half of the season, this is the one thing I was criticizing the manager for. The fact that he was refusing to adapt, to basically put his stubbornness aside and try to drop the line for the sake of the team. But no, it's high line for life. And that is something I'm going to call you out for. I'm going to call you out for. Because yesterday's game, you are as much as blame of that performance as the defense was. Because you kept on performing and putting the line all the way to the midfield. Like, come on. Didn't you do your scouting before the game? Didn't you do your scouting before the game? We already know what Juliano Simeone was going to do before the game. We knew what Lookman was going to do. We already knew. And especially considering they had Griezmann and Julian Alvarez, who are very pacey in their ways. And look at what happened. All four of them absolutely cooked our defense. Our defense is not good enough. And the worst thing is, you know, Flick, that this current team that we have now, we don't have a good defense. Our defense is garbage. Why do you trust this defense so much that you insist on constantly playing the constant high line every single game? What are you going to gain from it? What are you going to gain from it? And this is the issue when it comes to this Barca team, because we are so good. We have a good attack and we have a good midfield. But this defense is going to be the reason why we don't achieve what we want to achieve. But in all of it, all together, if you put it all aside, the manager gets paid for a reason. Okay, you don't have the quality players that you want. But when it comes down to tactics, that has nothing to do with the players. That has everything to do with you. Because if you're playing a high line or you're playing a tactic that is not working against a crappy defense, this clearly shows that you're going to play this way against everyone. Even if we had a good defense, this is how you're going to play. And this is the problem with you, Flick. This is the problem. Because you now have shown you are a one-trick pony. You can only play one way. And everybody and teams are beginning to notice that. Trust me, it's just a matter of time. When Real Madrid understand how to play against us, you will never beat Madrid in another El Clasico again. Because they already know how they're going to do what they're going to do. They already know how you're going to set up. In fact, they will be so sure that they will even know where your line starts. And they're going to make sure that they use the firepower that they have to basically expose us. Because teams have already shown they can do that. And Simeone, that's what he did. It was a Simeone masterclass. One thing I will give Simeone, he woke up. He saw what to do. He understood. He learned from the defeats last season at the Wanda. He learned even from the games that he won, right, in the league last season, right, or the one where we drew in the Copa del Rey first leg at the Montjuic, and even when we won earlier this season, right? You guys remember the Bayern goal? It was the high line. The goal was, once again, the highline being exposed. And that is what Flick did, and that's what Simeone did. He said, you know what? We know where the line is. Simeone and Lookman, we're going to always pass you the ball, feed you guys the ball. And that's all he needed to do. And you know what? It worked out to a T. Because obviously, the manager is not going to change. And this is something that needs to end now. Because let me be clear here. I'll give you credit when you win. But I don't want to have a manager at my club who is a one-trick pony. Because the moment you are exposed, the moment teams figure out how to play against you, you've lost your power. You've lost your aura. It's over. It is over. We see it all the time. We're seeing it now. Why do you think guys like Mourinho are not at the level that they were? Mourinho, who was once one of the best managers in the world, guess what? He kept on playing the same way. Yeah, it took years, but when teams figured out how to play against his teams, he got exposed. And look at him, he's no longer the same manager. You're seeing that happen to Pep right now. Pep, for a long time, played the same way against every single team he coached against. Guess what? Teams are beginning to figure out how to play against Pep. That's why Pep looks vulnerable now. And Flick, you are not Pep and you are not Mourinho. You are not going to survive like this for long. Because after this, whatever management job you get, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to start well and you're going to probably do amazingly in your first season. But then when teams figure out that, wait a minute, this guy only plays one style of play, let's just figure out how to play against it, it's over. And quite frankly, that has to change because I still rate you as a manager. But this has been a worry of mine since the beginning of the season. And you need to learn from this. The game against Atletico should be the final straw. You should stop being naive. This German stubbornness that you have. Stop this naivety that you show. Stop this arrogance that you show, that you think that any other team that you play against is the same old stuff. We can lose. I can accept defeat. But I will only accept defeat when we've given it a go. I will only accept defeat when it is respectful. Not the defeat like yesterday. And I've seen this now quite a few times this season. And something tells me this is not the last time I'm going to see this season. But things have to change now. They have to change now, and you have to figure it out right away. But let me know what you guys are saying in the comment section below. What do you guys think of everything I said in the comment section? Big up to every single one of you guys. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. And peace, you guys. Take care.